I'm Nancy Goldstone, and this is my newest book, In the Shadow of the Empress, about Maria Theresa, one of the most important and influential women rulers in history. But because she's so famous, it's actually the chapters on her daughter, Marie Antoinette, that are gathering the most attention. And with a small group of readers, this attention has turned to outrage because I have dared to write that Marie Antoinette had an affair with the Swedish Count Axel Fersen, and that he was the father of her two youngest children. So although I can hardly believe that in the year 2021, we still got to go through this, I am forced now to talk to you about Marie Antoinette's sex life. Today, of course, we are used to evidence supplied by iPhones and video, but unfortunately, Instagram was not available in the 18th century. So historians have to rely on other forms of documentary evidence, such as letters or written reports by credible observers, in order to establish a chain of events. When there's a question about something like an affair, what we do is we weigh the evidence, and if it's about equal, we say, we really can't say for sure, and for the sake of conservatism, we say we can't say that there was an affair. When there's a little more evidence on one side than the other, then we say, well, it's possible that there was an affair, or if there's enough, even likely that there was an affair. But when the evidence on one side is so much greater than the evidence on the other side, then, even though we do not have a witness in the room who catches the couple in the act of adultery, we can nonetheless still say that the data is so overpowering, is so powerful, that it must be incorporated into the historical record. And that is what has happened with Marie Antoinette. So let's go through all of the evidence. Marie Antoinette's attraction to Count Fersen was so pronounced that the Swedish ambassador had to write home that she could not disguise her feelings in public, and he was thrilled when Fersen left and went to fight in the American Revolution because that avoided the possibility of a scandal. But 3 years later, Fersen comes back, and this is when we begin to have substantive evidence of infidelity. There's way too much to go into it all here, but it included secret letters that they exchanged between each other and entries in Fersen's diary when he talks about somebody named L, that's his code name for Marie Antoinette, who he loves so much, but he can't wed because she's already married. But the most significant testimony comes from the captain of the Royal Guard at Versailles, who reported that when Fersen was in town, he stayed over, often for days at a time, at Marie Antoinette's private sanctuary, the Petit Trianon, and that the King of France, Louis XVI, knew of this affair, but that his wife had somehow gotten around him. So already we're kind of like this, but that wasn't all the data. We also have the evidence of Marie Antoinette's pregnancies. Before Fersen arrived, she has 2 pregnancies in 10 years. After he arrived, she has 3 pregnancies in 3 years, which result in 1 surviving child, a son, who looks a whole lot like Fersen when he was a child, and nothing like Louis XVI. But that's not all. We also have reports that the King and Queen of France did not spend a whole lot of time together, and particularly at this period, because of the deteriorating economic and political situation, Louis has gotten into the habit of coming back and eating and drinking himself into a stupor, so much so that his servants have to carry him comatose and put him to bed. It's very difficult to get someone pregnant when you are passed out cold, alone in your bed all night by yourself. Well, now, so we're like this. But now, what has thrown everybody off all this time is that the evidence is so strong that you would think that Marie Antoinette would have been caught and punished. And the fact that she was not indicates that there's something, means that we cannot conclude that there was an affair. And that's where my book comes in. Because my research, which has been corroborated by experts in the field, indicates that Louis was born with autism spectrum disorder. He has every classic symptom. He can't make eye contact, he has trouble with conversations, he has to maintain a strict routine. But this also explains why the marriage was not consummated for so long, because Louis did not understand the mechanics of the sex act, and he had to have it explained to him by Marie Antoinette's brother when he came for a visit. And yet, even after he knew what he was supposed to do, Louis showed very little interest in sex. Marie Antoinette's enemies threw women at him in an attempt to separate the couple, and he was completely oblivious to them. The autism diagnosis also explains how the king could know about the affair but not punish his wife. Louis never confronted Marie Antoinette. She was his emotional support. He needed her. So now, with this, we have all this evidence, and it is supported by a thesis so much that it becomes the data becomes overwhelming and powerful, so that now we can conclude that it was in fact the affair that was the history, and to deny it is the fiction.